Okay, so we've got a pretty interesting topic lined up for this deep dive. A whole bunch of articles about EDM.
EDM. Yeah, it's a fascinating world to explore.
I have to admit, I'm more of a classic rock kind of person, but I'm really curious to kind of unpack this genre. What is it about EDM that's resonated with such a massive global audience?
Well, I think it's that pulsating energy, those driving beats.
Yeah.
It's music that's designed to make you move.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just the beats themselves.
You're right. It's definitely more than just the beats. This podcast episode .pdf you sent over, it really highlights the cultural side of EDM, that whole sense of community and shared experience that comes with it, especially in those early days.
So it's like a whole cultural movement then, not just a genre of music.
Exactly. Think back to the 80s and 90s. You had these pioneers like, let me see, Juan Atkins, Frankie Knuckles, experimenting with drum machines and synthesizers in these underground clubs in Detroit and Chicago. It was revolutionary.
So this was like the birthplace of EDM.
It was a huge part of it, yeah. And it makes sense when you think about it. Those cities had this raw industrial energy that kind of seeped into the music.
It was music that reflected its environment.
Exactly. And it was a far cry from the mainstream music scene at the time. It had that underground, almost rebellious feel. And that resonated with a lot of people who were looking for something different, something more visceral.
So how did it make that leap from those underground clubs to the global stage?
Well, part of it was the rise of rave culture, these massive parties fueled by this new electronic sound. And it wasn't just about the music, it was about the lights, the visuals, the whole experience of losing yourself in the moment with thousands of other people.
It sounds almost like a sensory overload in the best way possible.
That's a great way to put it. And it's something that EDM still excels at today. Think about festivals like Tomorrowland. They're like stepping into another world.
Right. It's not just a concert, it's an experience.
Exactly. And I think that's a key part of EDM's appeal. It's about creating these immersive experiences that go beyond just listening to music.
So we've talked about the energy, the culture, but what about the music itself? There are so many different subgenres under the EDM umbrella. How do you even begin to make sense of it all?
Don't worry. It's not as overwhelming as it might seem. Think of it like a family tree. You have the main branches, house, techno, trance, dubstep, and then all these subgenres that branch off from there.
So like any good family, there are always those eccentric cousins, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even with all the variations, what unites them is that electronic core, those synthesized sounds that just grab you and make you want to move.
It's funny you should say that because even though I'm not super familiar with all the different subgenres, I have caught myself humming along to certain EDM tracks without even realizing it. Those melodies can be incredibly catchy.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of EDM's superpowers. Those repetitive hooks and melodies, they really get stuck in your head.
So how did EDM go from those underground clubs and niche genres to becoming so mainstream? Like I hear it everywhere now.
It's an interesting story. And this podcast episode .pdf does a great job of breaking it down. Well, for one thing, EDM started to infiltrate pop music in a big way.
You're right. Now that you mention it, I do remember a shift happening around the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Exactly. Suddenly you had artists like Lady Gaga and Rihanna, like major pop stars, incorporating those four on the floor beats and synth lines into their music.
It's like EDM snuck its way onto the pop charts and just exploded.
Right. And it wasn't just pop music either.
Yeah.
You started hearing EDM influences everywhere in movies, TV shows, even video games.
Oh yeah, you're right. It became part of the like the overall sonic landscape.
Exactly. And this is something that podcast episode.pdf really emphasized EDM's global reach. It wasn't just confined to clubs and festivals anymore. It was everywhere.
That's wild. So we've gone from underground clubs in Detroit and Chicago to EDM basically taking over the world.
Pretty much. But here's the thing. It's not just about Western artists dominating the genre anymore. EDM has become this global language with artists from all over the world putting their own unique spin on it.
Give me some examples. I need specifics.
Okay, so take Brazil, for example. They've got Bale Funk, which is this incredible fusion of like Miami bass, Latin rhythms, and those heavy EDM bass lines. It's high energy, it's super danceable, and it's uniquely Brazilian.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I'm adding that to my list of things to check out. But it's not just about different countries putting their own spin on EDM, right? It's also about artists from diverse backgrounds contributing to the genre as a whole.
You got it. And that's what makes it so exciting. You've got artists like Black Coffee from South Africa, who's known for his really soulful, deep house sound that incorporates these traditional African rhythms. Or Piggy Goo. She's a South Korean DJ who blends like the house, techno, even elements of K-pop in her sets. It's incredible.
So it's like this incredible melting pot of sounds and influences constantly evolving.
And that evolution is being driven by technology in a huge way. Think about it. Those early pioneers in the 80s and 90s, they were limited by the technology that was available at the time. But now...
The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Exactly. And this podcast episode.pdf you shared talks about how some artists are even using AI to create music now.
Whoa, AI-generated EDM. That's kind of wild.
It is. I mean, it's still early days.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder what's next for EDM. What happens when you combine this constantly evolving genre with these cutting-edge technologies?
Right. Like, what are the possibilities?
I mean, think about those massive EDM festivals we talked about.
Right.
What happens when you combine that with VR or AR?
Oh.
Suddenly, you're not just attending a concert, you're stepping into a completely immersive experience.
That's like next level stuff.
Right. It's like you could be dancing in a virtual rave
Yeah.
with people from all over the world, or even attending a concert on a different planet.
Okay. Now you're just messing with me.
Maybe. But that's the thing about EDM. It's
Yeah.
always pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
always exploring new frontiers. Who knows what the future holds?
So with all this talk about the future, let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What would you say to someone who's completely new to EDM? Where do they even begin?
Just dive in.
Just dive in.
Yeah, seriously. Don't overthink it. There's no right or wrong way to get into EDM.
Okay, so where do they start?
Well, we've talked about a bunch of different subgenres today. Maybe something resonated with you, like those deep house vibes or the energy of trance music. Start there.
So find a subgenre that speaks to you, and then
just start listening. There are tons of playlists, online streaming services, radio stations. You're bound to find something you connect with.
And once you've, dipped your toes in the water, so to speak,
Yeah.
what's the next step?
Go to a show. Seriously.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like experiencing EDM live.
Yeah, you've said that a couple of times now. There's definitely something to be said for that shared energy.
It's electric.
Yeah.
Being in a crowd, feeling that bass, seeing the lights, it's unlike anything else.
So it's not just about the music, it's about the whole experience.
Exactly. And you never know, you might even discover your new favorite artist while you're at it.
It's about those happy accidents,
Right.
those moments that you just stumble upon.
Exactly. That's the beauty of live music.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. The history, the subgenres, the culture, the future of EDM. What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
That EDM is more than just pushing buttons on a laptop.
Which some people might assume it is.
Right. But it's so much more than that. It's about pushing boundaries, experimenting with technology. It's about creating art, and it's about bringing people together.
It's a global community united by a love for electronic music.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So there you have it, your EDM crash course. Hopefully this has inspired you to dive in and explore this amazing genre.
Go find your people. Find your music. Find your rhythm. The dance floor is waiting.
And on that note, we'll catch you in the next deep dive.
I woke up with sunshine singing out loud. Dancing in my room, feeling so proud. Life is a party, let's make it count. Dive into beats with every ounce. In the crowd we lose ourselves tonight. With the neon lights, hearts alight.
All right, so we're really diving deep into this one, huh? Jazz.
We are. It's going to be a good one.
You know, I have to admit,
Yeah.
I love jazz,
Yeah.
but I can't say I know a ton about it.
Okay.
You know, I put on like a Miles Davis record or something when I'm
Um,
feeling cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
So really excited to
Let's dig in.
yeah, to get into this.
We got a lot here to get through.
Yeah, we do. And we have a lot of different sources too.
We do. We do.
It's not just like, you know, a couple articles. It's
Oh,
like
wow.
full-on books, liner notes.
Liner notes are great. Yeah.
Liner notes. I love those.
Yeah.
Even like a whole podcast, it looks like, queued up here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Someone's serious
Yeah.
about their jazz.
Well, you know, that's the thing about these deep dives. I
Uh,
gotta go deep.
You got to go deep. You can't just skim the surface
No, you
with
can do
this kind of stuff.
No. All right, so jazz.
Badass.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think we got to start in the birthplace of jazz, right?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. At the turn of the 20th century,
Okay.
picture a city
Okay.
that's just a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah.
And each of those cultures is bringing their own kind of musical flavor.
I like a musical flavor. I mean, it's true, like a gumbo.
Yeah, gumbo, exactly. You've got
Yeah.
like African rhythms, right? Like,
Okay.
you got the blues, which is,
Yeah.
really having a moment at that time.
Right.
Ragtime piano tunes.
Yeah.
Even a little bit of like that European classical music is still kind of swirling around
Oh, wow.
in the mix.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's all in there.
So out of this incredible mix of musical flavors,
Yes.
jazz emerges. What were those early days like?
Well, you got to imagine this.
Okay.
It's the late 1800s.
Uh-huh.
And for Black communities in particular,
Yeah.
they're facing segregation,
Oh, right.
hardship,
Of course. Yeah, it's a very specific time and place. And
Exactly. And the music
Yeah.
becomes so much more than just entertainment.
yeah.
It's a way of expressing themselves,
Right.
a way to tell their stories, share their joys, their sorrows.
It's powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so much more
Yeah.
than just like a catchy tune or
Oh,
something.
absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So jazz wasn't just born from a blend of sounds. It was born from a very specific experience,
Exactly. A
Little-
cultural experience,
Yeah.
a lived experience.
and the music reflects that.
It does. And those early jazz bands,
Oh.
sometimes called New Orleans jazz bands,
Okay.
they had this raw energy.
Yeah.
Like they were bursting with it.
Oh, I bet.
Lively, improvisational,
Okay.
lots of brass instruments,
Oh, yeah, I can hear that.
right? Like trumpets, trombones, clarinets,
Yeah.
all jamming together, feeding off each other's energy.
I can only imagine what that was like to be in the room when that was happening.
Oh, I know. It's
Amazing.
just electric.
Yeah. So are we talking about like, I mean, this is probably obvious, but are we talking about like Louis Armstrong's and
Yes,
okay.
you got it.
Okay.
Louis Armstrong, he was
What a legend.
a legend. He was not just an incredible trumpet player.
Right.
He was a showman.
Yeah.
Like he knew how to work a crowd,
Right.
and
I know
his energy was
that-
infectious.
it's impossible to listen to his music and not smile.
I know, it's true.
You just can't do it.
Yeah, and his playing, like his improvisations,
Right.
which is what we call playing off the cuff.
So they're just making it up as they go.
Well, sort of.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like they're just playing random notes.
Right.
They've got like a structure, like a melody they're working with,
Okay.
chords.
Right.
But within that, there's so much freedom to create.
That's incredible. I mean, you must have to have so much musical knowledge
You do, it's true.
to even begin to know how to do that.
Well, it's years and years
Right.
of, practice studying the music.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So from these like vibrant beginnings in New Orleans,
Yeah.
jazz starts to kind of spread its wings a little bit.
It does, yeah. And we get into like the roaring 20s,
Oh, yeah.
and jazz is the soundtrack,
I love that.
It's everywhere.
Okay, so paint me a picture.
Okay.
What's happening?
So we're in the 1920s.
Uh-huh.
Jazz has migrated from New Orleans,
Okay.
right? It's spreading across the country,
Yeah.
and it evolves.
Right.
It changes, it grows.
Right.
And out of that, we get what's called the big band era.
Okay, the big bands. Now, those are some names I recognize. Like,
Yeah.
Who are we talking about here?
Oh, we're talking Duke Ellington,
Okay.
Jack Basie.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the rock stars of their time.
I was just picturing like the iconic black and white photos,
I know.
the huge orchestras.
Yeah.
Everyone's like dressed to the nines,
Oh, yeah.
dancing, cheek to cheek. Like swing was the thing.
Swing was the music to listen to and
Yeah.
dance to.
Right. Like you wouldn't just sit there.
Oh, no, you gotta
was-
get up.
You got to move.
Yeah.
It was about like socializing.
Right. It wasn't just about, like, the music itself. It was about the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a whole scene, right?
Yeah, wow.
And it was huge, like a national craze.
I bet. All right, so we've got these huge bands. Swing is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's, like, kind of, big and flashy.
Yeah, it's the jazz age.
Right. But then something happens, right?
Something's brewing
Yeah.
underneath.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's a little less formal,
Okay.
a little more rebellious.
You're talking about bebop.
Bebop. Yeah,
The word itself just sounds like a jolt of energy.
it does.
Like, how did this shakeup happen?
Well, it's the 1940s now,
Okay.
and the world's kind of, in a state of upheaval, right?
Yeah.
World War II, there's a lot going on.
Right.
And jazz musicians, they're not immune to that.
They're feeling it too.
Right.
And for them, it's about pushing boundaries.
Okay, musically.
Musically, yeah.
Yeah.
But also culturally, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Like they're pushing against what's expected of them.
Right. How so?
Well, you've got musicians like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie,
See, legend.
Legend.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in playing the same old tunes.
Right.
They're pushing the tempo,
Okay.
the harmonies,
Yeah.
even the way jazz is perceived.
So it was more than just a change in the music then. It was like a whole cultural shift.
Absolutely.
Wow. And bebop itself, it sounds, pretty radical for its time.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Imagine this.
Okay.
Smaller groups.
Okay.
Not those big bands anymore.
Right, right.
Breakneck speeds,
Oh, wow.
like really fast tempos,
Yeah, okay.
harmonies that are like really complex.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world
Yeah.
from those dance halls we were just talking about.
Yeah. Totally different vibe.
Oh.
So was it still about dancing at all at this point?
Not so much. I mean, you could dance to it if you wanted to,
Right.
but this was really music for listening,
Okay.
about like really appreciating the sheer virtuosity
Yeah.
and the improvisational genius
Right.
of these musicians.
It's so interesting how jazz could morph like that.
Yeah, isn't
From like,
From these big, like,
big, yeah.
grand ballroom things.
Yeah. To this, like, I don't know, it seems more intimate in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like jazz kind of went underground a bit.
Yeah, you could say that.
That trading, like, the glitz and glamour.
Right.
For
A little
some-
more raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And you said, like, it was really about, like, challenging,
Yeah.
like, what jazz...
Challenging the norms,
Yeah.
like what it could be.
Exactly, yeah.
It wasn't just about entertainment anymore.
Yeah.
It was about making a statement.
And speaking of making a statement, I mean, we've talked about, like, the sounds of jazz,
Right.
but there's also the cultural side of it.
Absolutely.
Right. And specifically, like, we're talking about, Black artists
Yeah.
who are creating this music.
Creating it and innovating it, pushing it forward.
What was their experience like,
Well, it's complicated, right?
Okay.
I mean, on the one hand, jazz is everywhere.
Right, like, everyone's listening to it.
Exactly. It's like the popular music of the time.
Okay.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
the musicians themselves, especially Black musicians,
Yeah.
they're still facing so much discrimination.
It's like they're creating this music
Mm.
that everyone loves.
Exactly.
But they're not
Today.
getting the recognition they deserve.
Exactly. Not always, anyway.
Wow, that's really something.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes bebop so interesting, because
yeah.
it's like they're pushing back against that, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, it's like this music is so complex.
Yeah,
It's so intellectually demanding. It's like
Yeah.
you can't just dismiss it as,
like fluffy dance music.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
It's like, no, this is serious art.
It's a statement.
It's a statement.
Yeah.
And I think that resonated with a lot of people.
And it wasn't just like a statement for like that time, right? It feels like it had a lasting impact.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you can hear the influence of bebop
Okay.
on so many different genres.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Oh, I mean, you hear it in like rock music.
Okay.
You hear it in funk.
Mhm.
You hear it in like even like avant-garde classical music.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
That's wild.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so we've gone from these like high energy bebop sessions
Yeah.
Did jazz ever, like, cool down a bit?
You could say that
Oh.
by the 1950s, you have the emergence of cool jazz.
Cool jazz. I mean, the name itself just sounds
It does, doesn't it?
very chill.
It sounds cool.
It does, which is kind of the point.
And we're in, like, Miles Davis territory now, right?
Exactly. Miles Davis is, like, the king of cool jazz.
He is. Like, when I think of cool jazz,
It's Miles.
it's Miles.
Yeah.
So what are we hearing?
Well, it's a reaction to bebop in a way.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
bebop was all about, like, intensity.
Right, pushing those boundaries.
Exactly. A cool jazz is like,
Yeah.
let's take a breath.
Okay.
Let's create some space.
I like that.
Yeah.
So sonically, what does that sound like?
Well, it's smoother,
Okay.
it's more contemplative,
Okay.
less frenetic energy.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah.
Like those Miles Davis records, they just like,
They just wash over you.
they do, like
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like in your face.
Yeah.
It's just like this,
Atmosphere
Yeah.
and mood.
it creates a whole vibe.
Exactly. And Miles Davis was a master of that.
Yeah. Like he knew how to use silence.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like silence is just as important as the notes themselves.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's about creating tension and release.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So it's like jazz is kind of maturing at this point,
yeah, you could say that.
like finding new ways to tell its stories.
Yeah, I like that. Finding new ways to tell its stories
Yeah.
because it's still evolving, right?
Right. And it's not done.
No, not at all.
Like, it's going to keep going,
It keeps going.
which is what's so remarkable about jazz, right?
It is remarkable.
Like, it's never content to stay in one place.
No, it's always changing.
Yeah.
It's always growing.
Which brings us to jazz today,
Yes.
which sounds,
It's a whole other world.
it's very different
Yes.
from those early recordings we were listening to.
It's true.
I mean, how has jazz managed to stay relevant
That's a good question.
in the 21st century?
It's a testament to its adaptability, I think. Like, just like those early jazz musicians,
Yeah.
we're taking all these different influences and
Yeah.
blending them together.
All right, their own kind of musical gumbo.
Exactly. Today's jazz musicians are doing the same thing.
So what are some of the ingredients in today's gumbo?
Oh, I mean, you've got everything.
Like what?
You've got hip-hop influences,
Okay.
electronic music.
Interesting.
You know, some people are even, like, bringing in classical influences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really all over the map.
So it's about, like, keeping that spirit of jazz alive.
Yes.
The improvisation, the conversation between musicians.
The energy,
Yeah.
the feeling,
But also, like,
and
embracing.
embracing the
Yeah.
new, pushing boundaries.
So it's not just about the music itself. It's about what that music represents.
Exactly. It's about freedom.
Yeah.
It's about creativity.
Yeah.
It's about pushing back against expectations.
And I think that continues to resonate with people.
Absolutely. And I think especially today,
Yeah.
when there's so much, you know, division, and uncertainty,
Yeah.
people are looking for something that's, like,
Hopeful.
hopeful. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And jazz can be that.
It's interesting you say that because you mentioned, like, Kamasi Washington,
Yeah.
Esperanza Spalding earlier.
Yes.
Like, they embody that, don't they?
They do. They really do.
Like that hope that.
They're both incredible musicians
Yeah.
who are, like, deeply rooted in the tradition of jazz,
Right.
but they're not afraid to, like,
Break the rule.
break the rules. Yeah. And to bring in their own
thing.
thing.
I
Exactly.
love that.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
It is inspiring. Okay, so we've talked about, like, a lot of different styles of jazz.
Yeah.
We've gone through the decades.
Yeah.
But if you had to, like, boil it down,
Okay.
what makes jazz jazz?
Ah, the $1 million question.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there like a simple answer? Like, what is it that makes jazz jazz?
I mean, it's tough to, like, put it in a box, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much variety.
Right.
But I think there are some core elements.
Okay, yeah, give me the crash course.
Okay.
Like, what should I be listening for?
Well, first and foremost, jazz has got to have improvisation.
Okay, improvisation.
Okay.
So, like, they're making it up as they go along.
Well, sort of. It's not totally random, you
Right.
know? It's like they have a roadmap,
Yep,
a
sure.
structure, but within that structure, there's a lot of freedom.
Interesting. Okay, so what does that sound like? What am I listening for?
So think of it like this.
Okay.
The musicians, they all know the chords.
Yeah.
They know the basic melody,
Right.
but the solos, the
Yeah.
little flourishes, the embellishments,
Yeah.
those are all improvised.
Wow. So they're just, like, listening to each other.
Exactly. It's all about listening,
Wow.
reacting to what the other musicians are doing.
That's incredible. It's like a conversation.
It is. It's a musical conversation.
That's
And
amazing.
that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, because you never know where it's going to go next.
Yeah.
Jess.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and you mentioned swing earlier.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's like one of those things that you know it when you hear it.
You feel it.
You feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets in your soul.
It does.
Yeah.
But how would you explain it? Like, what is swing?
It's that, like, rhythmic lilt,
Okay.
That push and pull of the beat.
Okay, yeah.
It's hard to describe, but you just know it when you hear it.
You just feel it.
You feel it.
It makes you want to dance.
Exactly. It's that infectious groove that just makes you want to move.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's interesting because, like, we've talked about a lot of, like, technical things, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the improvisation, the swing.
Right.
But then there's also, like, this whole other side of
Yeah,
jazz
absolutely.
that's about, like, its cultural impact.
Yeah.
Like, it's a music that's always been about more than just, like, the notes themselves.
Oh, for sure. It's always been a music of rebellion.
Okay, rebellion, yeah.
Yeah, of pushing back against societal norms.
Right, from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like from those early days in segregated New Orleans
Yeah.
to bebop challenging the established music scene.
Right.
Jazz has always been about pushing boundaries.
It's about freedom,
It's about freedom. It's
Yeah.
about expression.
and it's about, like, giving voice to the voiceless in a way.
Exactly.
Wow, when you put it that way, it's like, no wonder jazz has had such a lasting impact.
I know, right?
Like, it's more than just a genre of music.
It's a reflection of the human experience, really.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So from those, humble beginnings in New Orleans
Yeah,
to the, like, incredible innovations that we're hearing today,
it has. It's amazing.
jazz is, like, woven itself into the very fabric of, like, musical history.
It has.
It's a story of, like, cultural expression, of artistry,
Yeah.
and just, like, the power of music
The power of youth.
to transcend boundaries.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
Well, on that note, I think we've done it.
I think we did.
We did a deep dive on jazz.
We went deep.
We went deep. And, who knows? Maybe out there right now,
Yeah.
there's some kid
Yeah.
listening to, like, Kamasi, Washington or something.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the next,
The next Miles Davis.
yeah,
You never know.
you never know. That's the beauty of it, right?
That's the beauty of jazz.
All right. Well, that's it for our deep dive on jazz. Hope you all enjoyed it. And be sure to check back next time for another deep dive.
Underneath the moon's soft glow, where the gentle breezes blow, we'll dance beneath the twinkling lights in the silence of the nights. Your eyes, they whisper tales untold, a love that's pure, a heart of gold. We sway in time, a rhythm sweet, in this night where lovers meet. Oh, the moonlit rendezvous, just us two, just us two. In the shadows and the light, hearts collide, love takes flight. Soft as silk, our laughter flows in a world that only we know. Fingers trace a lover's line, lost forever in the time. Every glance a symphony, in your touch the melody. Music's played by heartstrings taut. In this moment love is caught. Stars above sing lullabies, matching every lover's sigh, As we waltz through night's embrace, I find my home in your sweet face.
Hey, music lover. Today, we're taking a deep dive into country music, going from those rustic back porches to those massive stadium shows we see today.
Yeah, it's really something when you think about it.
It really is.
Like way before recording studios and, radio waves and all that, country music was already a thing.
Right.
Like stewing, putting together all these different sounds and influences.
From all over.
We're talking Irish, Scottish, even English ballads getting thrown in there.
Wow.
African-American blues, gospel.
Right?
And then, of course, those haunting melodies you get from the Appalachian Mountains.
Like, it truly is a melting pot
Absolutely.
of, like, all these different influences and cultures
Yeah.
poured their heart and soul into this sound that is uniquely country.
Yeah, and those early country artists, they're basically like musical journalists in a way.
I like that. Musical journalism.
They were capturing those everyday life moments.
Yeah.
The joys, struggles, love, loss, hard work, you name it.
All of it.
It was all there in their music.
Wow.
And they would use instruments, of course, like the banjo,
Right.
the fiddle, the guitar.
Oh, and that soulful harmonica.
Oh, of course. Can't forget the harmonica.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself just sitting on a porch, listening to those stories unfold.
Yeah. Like, just through their songs.
Exactly.
It's amazing how music can really transport you back in time like that.
It is.
But, there had to be a moment when country music broke free from those front porches and
All right.
reached a larger audience.
Yeah, for sure.
What was that moment?
So picture this, 1923.
Okay, 1923.
A musician by the name of Fiddlin' John Carson
Fiddlin' John Carson.
walks into a recording studio, and that was a big deal at the time.
I bet.
And he lays down this track called The Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane.
The little old log cabin in the lane.
And that, my friend, was the first ever commercial country music recording.
Wow.
That was it.
Like a pivotal moment.
Absolutely.
It's like opening a door to a whole new world for country music.
Exactly. It really was.
Wow. 1923. Talk about a blast from the past.
Ah.
So that was the spark. But what lit the fuse?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
What really launched it into the mainstream?
Hold on to your hats because just 4 years later, something really incredible happens.
Okay.
The 1927 Bristol Sessions.
The Bristol Sessions. Okay.
Imagine a bunch of talented musicians
Yeah.
all gathered in Bristol, Tennessee,
Okay.
and they're there for this marathon recording session.
A marathon recording session.
Like nonstop.
Wow.
It was like a musical Big Bang.
Okay, a musical Big Bang.
Mm.
Now you've got me hooked.
Yeah.
So who are some of these stars that emerged from this?
From those sessions, legends were born.
Okay, lay it on me.
Jimmie Rogers, known for his yodeling,
Oh, yeah.
and his bluesy style.
Right.
And then you have the Carter family.
Oh, the Carter family, of course.
Masters of Harmony.
Yes.
And they were amazing at storytelling through their songs.
Incredible.
Both of them just skyrocketed to fame. And, these artists, they weren't just making music, they were shaping the sound of a generation.
I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got these artists, these icons hitting the scene,
Mm-hmm.
but country music's story doesn't end there.
Oh, not even close.
Right, because it's the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah,
And things are about to get even more interesting.
they always do.
So what were some of the defining moments, would you say, of this, golden age of country music?
Well, you got to think about it. This is when the radio, right?
Yeah, the radio
It becomes like a fixture in every household.
in every house, yeah.
So now, instead of having to go out to these shows,
Right.
folks from all over, they can tune into these heartfelt country tunes.
Anytime they want.
Exactly, whenever the mood strikes.
Wow.
So it's like country music found its way
Yeah.
right into the homes and hearts of just everyday Americans.
Yeah, it became part of their lives.
Oh, absolutely. And, as those radio waves are carrying these tunes all over, the recording industry just explodes.
Of course.
And suddenly you have these larger-than-life figures.
Right.
Like, you can't talk about country music without talking about Hank Williams,
Hank Williams, come on.
Patsy Cline,
Oh, legend.
Johnny Cash.
Oh, yeah. The Man in Black.
These guys, they became the voices of a generation.
It's true. And Hank Williams especially, I felt like he had this incredible ability
Oh, we did.
to just tap into, like, raw human emotion.
Like nobody else.
You know, like his songs, Your Cheatin' Heart.
Oh, come on.
Like, those songs just cut right to the chase.
They really do. It's those universal feelings,
Yeah.
Heartache, loneliness, longing.
It's just, he sings about the human experience
Yeah.
in its purest form.
Yeah. And, alongside those, soulful ballads, there's a new sound emerging as well.
Okay, tell me more.
And a little more upbeat.
Okay.
A little something called honky tonk.
Oh, honky tonk. Now you're talking. Those lively tunes. Makes you want to kick up your heels.
Yeah. Get out on the dance floor.
Two-step across the dance floor.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Imagine you walk into this smoky bar. Right?
Right.
You hear the clinking glasses, you hear the laughter, the couples are twirling around.
Yeah.
That's honky tonk.
Okay. It just makes you happy.
It does. It's all about, embracing life's ups and downs,
Yeah.
often with a little bit of humor
Of course. Gotta have humor.
and a whole lot of heart.
It sounds like honky tonk was like the perfect antidote
Oh, yeah.
to those post-war blues.
Absolutely.
But even as folks are, cutting loose, doing their thing in the honky tonks,
Mm-hmm.
there's another shift happening, right?
Yeah,
This is where we get something called the Nashville sound.
that's right.
What is that?
So as country music is getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
there's this move towards a more polished sound.
Okay, I see.
Imagine those classic country tunes, but now they've got these lush string sections, background vocals.
Fancy.
A little more refined.
I like it. So is that what we're hearing in Patsy Cline's Crazy?
Oh, absolutely.
Because that song, I mean, it's timeless, it's elegant.
Crazy is like the epitome of a
Right.
Nashville sound.
Yeah.
It's sophisticated, it's heartbreaking,
True.
and it proved that, country music,
Yeah.
it can hang.
It can hang.
It can embrace those pop sensibilities without losing its soul.
Without losing its soul. I like that.
But just as Nashville thinks it's got it all figured out, this new generation of artists, they emerge.
Okay.
And they're ready to shake things up
Here we go.
and reclaim the genre's rebellious spirit.
You think country music was all, clean-cut cowboys and rhinestones?
Nope.
Think again.
Not a chance.
Because the 70s,
Yeah.
that's when you get these rebels.
Oh, yeah.
Guys like Willie, Waylon, Merle.
Oh.
And they're basically saying, to heck with the rules. We're doing it our way.
100%. And you know what you call that?
What?
The outlaw movement?
The outlaw movement. Whoa, hold on. Outlaw movement. Okay, now you got to tell me more about these musical rebels who are like, we're bucking the system.
Well, these artists, they were just tired of, being told what to play, how to sound, what to sing,
Yeah,
They wanted to make music their way.
right.
And for them, that meant, ditching the strings, going back to that raw, authentic country sound.
So it was like a musical revolution,
Yeah,
like reclaiming those country music roots.
exactly. These artists, they weren't afraid to be themselves.
Right.
Let their individuality shine through.
I like it.
Take Waylon Jennings, for example.
Okay, Waylon Jennings.
His song, Good-Hearted Woman.
Good-hearted woman, yeah.
I mean, you can just hear it in his voice.
Oh, yeah.
The grit, the determination.
It's that raw honesty.
Yeah.
That's what resonates with people.
It's real.
Because they're singing about real life. No sugarcoating, no pretense,
Yeah.
just real.
And then you've got Willie Nelson.
Oh, Willie.
A true iconoclast.
Yes.
Blue eyes crying in the rain.
Oh, my gosh.
Breaks your heart every time.
Every time.
So honest.
Yeah.
Raw emotion just pouring out.
And these outlaw artists, they wore their heart on their sleeve.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Not afraid to let that vulnerability show.
No way.
And I think it's amazing how music can connect with you on such a deep level.
It really is.
But while the Outlaws were busy, kind of like shaking things up,
Yeah.
there's another trend that's also emerging.
Oh, okay.
And this is like crossover success.
Right.
So how did artists like, Dolly Parton,
Oh.
Kenny Rogers,
Yeah.
how did they bridge that gap between country and pop?
Well, they were masters, right?
Yeah.
At taking those classic country themes,
Yeah.
love, loss, heartache, resilience,
Mm.
and making them connect with a way bigger audience.
Yeah.
You think about Dolly Parton.
Oh, an icon.
Incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
That voice.
Oh, forget about it.
Global superstar.
And who could forget?
I know, right?
Jolene,
Come on.
masterpiece.
It really is.
And Kenny Rogers, the gambler.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about storytelling at its finest.
The best.
They proved that country music had this power to, like, transcend genres,
Absolutely.
to speak to something, like, universal within us.
It's true.
And then that brings us to the 1990s.
The 90s.
A decade that saw country music explode onto the global stage,
Yeah.
largely thanks to a certain Garth Brooks.
Oh, Garth. What can you say?
Garth Brooks, a name that's synonymous with stadium-sized country shows
The best.
and those unforgettable anthems.
He wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature.
He was.
Garth really combined those classic country roots with that rock and roll energy,
Yeah.
creating a sound that was both familiar and fresh at the same time.
And his concerts were legendary. Like, I've heard stories about, like, just the energy. It was infectious.
Yeah.
How he could get a whole stadium on their feet, singing along to every word.
Everyone.
And let's not forget Shania Twain.
Oh, Shania.
She rocked the country music scene,
She did.
fusing those pop sensibilities
Mhm.
with a whole lot of girl power.
Oh, yeah. Girl power.
Man, I feel like a woman.
What an anthem.
Became an anthem. And then her album, Come On Over,
Oh, my gosh.
broke records, crossed boundaries like never before,
Never before.
and the hits just kept coming.
They did.
Alan Jackson with that more traditional sound,
Beautiful.
Brooks and Dunn bringing that honky-tonk energy,
Yes.
the Dixie Chicks
Love them.
captivating us with their stories.
Oh, yeah.
Country music was unstoppable in the 90s.
It really was.
But then, here comes the new millennium.
A new era.
And the musical landscape, it continues to evolve.
Always.
What would you say is the state of country music in the 21st century?
I think it's still a melting pot.
Okay.
Like those early days, it's a melting pot of sounds, influences.
I like it.
I mean, you got artists like Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor.
Started out in country.
Right.
Went on to conquer the pop world.
She did it all.
Yeah.
Talk about, like, blurring genre lines.
I know, right?
Her songs, Love Story, You Belong With Me,
Classics.
introduced a whole new generation
Yes.
to the power of country storytelling.
It's true.
And then you've got the stadium country superstars
Oh, yeah.
like Luke Bryan, Carrie Underwood,
Love her.
Florida Georgia Line,
Yes.
filling these arenas, bringing that high-energy country sound to a massive global audience.
It's amazing.
It's incredible to think about how far country music has come.
It really is.
You know, from those Appalachian front porches
Yeah.
to those sold-out stadium shows.
Quite a journey.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a testament
Mhm.
to the power of storytelling,
Absolutely.
raw emotion,
It's all there.
and that connection to our shared human experience.
You said it.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the history of country music,
It's been fun.
here's a thought to ponder.
Okay.
With so many different influences shaping its sound,
Yeah.
where will country music go next?
Ooh,
Will it continue to push boundaries,
good question.
blend genres, defy expectations?
Who knows?
Only time will tell.
That's right.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
This genre's journey is far from over.
Oh, I agree.
There are still stories to be told,
Mm.
emotions to be explored,
Absolutely.
and a whole lot more dancing to be done.
I'm ready.
So crank up that music,
Yeah.
and let's see where the sound of country takes us next.
Woke up this morning with the sun in my eyes. Coffee's brewing, smelling mighty nice. Old dog wagging his tail with delight. Starting my day, everything feels right. Walk down Main Street, saw a friendly face. Waved at folks, this town's my kind of place. Kids are playing out in the field. Simple joys, nothing's concealed. Oh, it's a picturesque day, sky so blue. Every moment here feels like something new. With a song in my heart and boots on the ground. Life is sweet in this rotten high small town. Checked on mama's flowers, they're blooming bright. Colors dancing in the soft twilight. Daddy's fishing down by the old creek, catching happiness week by week. Evening falls, the guitar's out, strumming chords, there's no room for doubt. Friends gather round, laughter in the air, the kind of bliss I thought was rare. Oh, it's a picturesque day, sky so blue. Every moment here feels like something new. With a song in my heart and boots on
guitars out, strumming chords, there's no room for doubt. Friends gather round, laughter in the air, the kind of bliss I thought was rare. Oh, it's a picturesque day, sky so blue. Every moment here feels like something new, with a song in my heart and boots on the ground. Life is sweet in this rotten high small town.